assumptions that we will be taking later. Correct? If I am wrong, just let me know. Okay, so there is a like query from Veena. She's saying that she has not understood regarding the assumptions of short sale. What happens? Okay, so like just I will cover this again, this efficient frontier part. Okay, and how it comes. Okay, so if you see this efficient frontier, currently what we are saying, we will take first the assumption that you are not doing short sales, and then like later on like you will be taking the short sale assumption. Okay, so with first of all, like what is short sale? Okay, so short sale is a process wherein you are selling those securities which are overvalued. Okay, so what is a overvalued security? So as an example, suppose you think that Microsoft stock should be valued at $20, and you go to the market and you see that Microsoft stock is trading at $25. Okay, so you see think that its price should be 20, but it is selling at 25, so it is overvalued as per your thinking. Okay, so when it's overvalued, definitely you are not going to buy it. So definitely you will not buy it. Okay, so but you, if you are not buying it, you are not getting the benefit of this being overvalued. So what you can do is you can short sell the security. Short selling is a process wherein you do not possess the security, but you are selling it. So think about, you do not have any stock of Microsoft, but you are borrowing from somebody. So you borrow from somebody and then you sell in the market. So that is a process of short selling. So your expectation is that the $25 stock will go down to $20, and in the process you will earn a $5 as the return. Okay, so so this is like what happens when you do short sell. Typically when the short selling is being done, the efficient frontier, it takes like this kind of shape. So what happens is, this is standard deviation and this is the return. You have a chance of getting negative returns also, because you can lose a lot of money, okay, when you are doing short selling. Why? The money that you can lose is like, if suppose what will happen if the Microsoft stock becomes $100. If the Microsoft stock becomes $100, you have a lot of negative returns. Okay, so you can see this kind of shape in the efficient frontier. So earlier what we took the efficient frontier was this, that short sale was not allowed, and as a result you were not having any the returns, the portfolios which were having negative returns. But you can have this situation wherein you can lose a lot of money because of this. So portfolio, the efficient frontier takes this shape. So we will so the idea of this short sell was not allowed, was just to simplify the things. In reality the short sales are allowed in the market, but please note that our assumption of short sale, like we will take we'll see the CAPM model wherein its short sale is disallowed, we will take. So what happens is, like, why we are saying that the short sales are disallowed, it helps in mathematically, it is simple. So simple maths, that is why we take the assumption. But there is no problem if we do not take this assumption of short sale not being short sale being allowed. Okay, first of all, short sale disallowed, it makes sense because lots of institution, okay, there are like lots of institutional pair, they are not allowed by the market regulators to short sell. Okay, or even if they are allowed, it is for a very short period of time. Okay, for a very short period of time. Also there can be certain restriction in terms of the short sale. One restriction that is known as, it is called as uptick rule. Okay, any idea on this uptick rule? Okay, so uptick rule states that, let's say you are selling a security short. So suppose you want to sell Microsoft short, you want to short sell Microsoft. So if let's say the opening price in the market of Microsoft stock is 25, okay, and after market being open, lots of people have the same expectation like you, that is Microsoft is overvalued. So what will happen is they will start selling the Microsoft stock. Okay, so it opened and then suddenly it decreased in price 24.9. After that it decreased to 24.8. It decreased to 24.5. It decreased to 24. Okay, so these were the subsequent transactions, first trade, second, third, fourth. So since if you see all of the prices are lower, this is lower than this, this is lower than this, this is lower than this is also lower. So all of these prices are lower. So this is called as downtick. That is, the prices are, the subsequent prices are lower than the previous price. Okay, so these are all downtick. So if you want to short sell here or here or here or here, you will not be allowed to short sell because the stock has gone downtick. So why the regulators do not allow selling in the downtick? Because what will happen is there will be more selling pressure on the stock, so the price of the stock will fall more. Okay, now let's say after this, what happens is the next price was 24.05. okay, so at this step what happened is the price has increased. So if you are a short seller, you can sell over here. Okay, whenever there's an uptick you can sell. Okay, now depending on the market situation, if the market situations are bad, regulators do not allow short selling to happen. Like remember during the time of Lehman crisis in 2007-8, they did not allow short sell for some period of time. Okay, so it depends on the regulator. So like even though we will take assumption of disallowed, okay, there are certain situations where yeah, disallowed happens. Okay, there are certain rules and regulations governing the short sell. Some institutions are not allowed to short sell. Some institutions have self regulation on short selling not being done. So some institutions, like, they say that no, we will not do short selling. Okay, so these are like the cases which we take. So we'll take assumption what will happen, these short sales are not allowed, but that really does not impact much. So even if you take like a short sell allowed assumption, okay, it's okay, not a problem. Okay, so the efficient frontier is actually like this, but it is when short sales are allowed, it takes this kind of form. Okay. Now like lending and borrowing at risk-free rate, okay, short sell all the assets. Please note that in this efficient frontier all the assets are risky asset. No asset is a risk-free asset. So risk-free asset is, we will take the case, risk-free asset is that asset which will not have any risk but it will give you a return. Okay, so that is, so all the assets are risk-free assets, and here the investor can invest in a fractional amount. So if let's say you want to invest in let's say Infosys stock, if you want, you can invest in 1/1000th of a stock of Infosys. In reality it is not possible, but theoretically we are taking that assumption because using that assumption it helps us in creation of the theory. Okay, it is for the theory, like these assumptions are being taken. So this, please note that this the whatever we are learning over here, this is called as capital market theory. Okay, or the efficient portfolio, it's a capital market theory we are learning. Okay, so in capital market theory all the assets are risky. Okay, and what happened is like if you add a risk-free asset, if you add a risk-free asset to the capital market line, okay, sorry, to the efficient frontier. Please note that the efficient frontier is only up till this. Below this, these are not the efficient part. Okay, so ideally the efficient frontier, the portfolios are like this. Okay, so if you take a portfolio from here and you add a risk-free asset, okay, risk-free asset will be one whose standard deviation will be 0. So this is a risk-free asset. If you add these two portfolio, what will happen is you will get a portfolio which is composed of, okay, so you will have multiple of portfolios. You will have this portfolio, you will have multiple of portfolios available to you. Okay, each of these portfolio will be composed of two assets. Please let's mark this portfolio as a portfolio A and this as a risk free. Okay, so this portfolio is composed of some part risk free and it is composed of some part A. Okay, and using that we came to know about the equation of this line. So these lines are called as capital allocation line. So we came to know about the capital allocation line. The return was the expected return of this capital allocation line was equal to risk free rate plus standard deviation of the portfolio, okay, into expected return of A minus risk free rate divided by standard deviation of A. So this is the equation of this particular capital allocation line. Okay, so we had done this derivation. I would request you to go through the video for this derivation. Okay, so what we are saying is this particular point is composed of a part of risk free rate, a part of A. Okay, now same can be said about this point also. This portfolio is also made up of some part risk free, some part A. But what is happening is, if you think over here, this has, before moving to this has, what we say is, let's say out of $100 you have invested, maybe you would have invested $20 in risk free and $80 in A. Okay, what about this point? This point has entire 100% in A. What can be said about this point? This point has entire 100% in risk free. But what will you be saying about this point, this portfolio? What can be said? It looks like that you have greater than 100% in A. Are you able to follow this? We are saying that it's greater than 100% in A. Is this clear? No. Okay, so think about it. We are trying to create a line. Okay, we are saying that this is a risk free rate. Okay, so on the return, this is a risk free return and this is a portfolio A. Okay, so the return of portfolio A is RA. Okay, now when you are creating a portfolio which is in this, you have $100. What you will do is, okay, so just imagine this as the line. Okay, so you have 10% as the risk free return and let's say 20% is the return of A. Okay, so return of A is 20 and return of risk free is 10%. What I am saying is, I will allocate 20% of my portfolio to risk free and 80% of my portfolio to A. What would be my return of the portfolio? Please note that the returns are weighted average. The returns of the portfolio are weighted average, right? So return of my portfolio will be, expected return of my portfolio will be W weight of risk free rate into return of risk free rate plus 1 minus weight of risk free rate into return of A. Sorry, is this clear to everybody? First of all, expected return of portfolio, correct? So if this is the expected return of the portfolio, what we have is expected return will be 20% of risk free, which is 10%, and 80% of this. So my portfolio will have a return of 2 plus 16, 18%. Sorry, this portfolio would not be this one,